today, looking back, we could wonder whether concerts in a desanctified chapel, a disco in a former missionary school were, well, apt.
The biggest criticism came from the thousands of girls who have actually schooled there, because you can't blame them. They have an emotional attachment.
If it begins to degenerate with sort of sleazy pubs, for example, then that's a problem.
There were many stakeholders that were involved in it. And the challenge is, how do you actually balance all these people?
The history of the school dates to 1854. The first nuns arrived, they set up a small school, orphanage, nunnery, and so forth.
里面有一间幼儿学校，一间英文小学，一间英文中学，还有加上圣尼格莱一间完整的中小学。
The school used to have an orphanage, and the gate that we would sometimes wait for our school buses or our parents to pick us up. That was the gate where babies would be abandoned, and the nuns would open the gates in the morning and find abandoned babies there.
We had a lot of nuns. They were nuns who taught us cookery, who taught us sewing. There was a lot of things during our education years that the nuns tried to lead us towards good life. The moral values are very strong.
Caldwell House, circular recreation room. In this room, you have the inscription on the wall, "Walk in my presence and be perfect." The chapel was quite a big highlight there, because students before going to school would also stop, and I would, as a student, I would also stop there before going to my class.
When our exam results were to be announced, and we worried about whether we would pass, and we would run to the chapel to say a little prayer.
I enjoyed my teaching stint there. The children were just simply lovely.
他从中二教我数学教到高二，后来是我们的级任老师，103岁的老人家了。每一年我们都去跟他拜年。这个是我们在课室外面拍的，我们那时候叫做五朵金花。课室外面有一个四方的那个小的亭子，就是在教堂旁边。那么我常常会跟我的朋友在那小亭子里面呢谈天。
In the 1970s and 1980s, Singapore was at its height of development. The city centre is prime land, and therefore the thinking at that point in time was, well, we should not use the land for purposes such as education.
The move to Toa Payoh was a choice because it was part of the CHIJMES mission to go into the heartlands and to serve the community.
I was the kind of the lucky batch that shifted the school. So since I was in kindergarten, there was some sadness in leaving the school because it was something we were very used to. I mean, but the thrill for us was a new school as well. So it was a good mixture.
Conservation in and of itself is not an end in itself, right? Because you can conserve the buildings, but then what use do you put the buildings to?
Obviously, one of the biggest challenge would be is how do you manage conservation and commercialization? Obviously, we were constrained by a lot of the conservation, because you must understand it was 150 to 160-year-old with very deep-seated roots to especially the girls who have schooled there. So this is what we had to do. You cannot preserve heritage or conserve places for the sake of conserving. The biggest issue is actually with the chapel.
There were alumni who were rather upset that dinners could be held in the chapel.
The girls were adamant that no food or drinks, no alcohol should ever be in CHIJMES Hall.
They felt it was a place of sanctity, and how could you eat in a church?
Well, I can understand, I can accept it, but we have to work this together. When we did the costing, and they say how much will it cost us then to hold this occasion outside? And at the end of the day, the cost exceeded their budget. And the solution was to bring the function back into the CHIJMES Hall. The girls were the first group of people to actually use the CHIJMES Hall sensitively to celebrate their 150 years of their founding.
My own view remains that we can and should pick uses that are sensitive to the origins of the building.
Restaurants are okay, as long as they enjoy the place, there's some heritage to the place, people see it as there's some history to it, you know. It's fine, you know, unless it becomes so degraded.
At one point in time, I think there were also model agencies that occupied the space, and I thought it deeply ironical that you would have these young women sashaying in skimpily clad clothes as models when this was a space of nuns who respected decorum. That was highly unsuitable.
And I think what was very gratifying was that the religious were completely understanding and they allowed the commercial entity to do what they want.
As a sister, and we learn that we have to be detached, we have to let go, we cannot cling on to anything.
The objectives of our enhancement works currently undertaken by Perennial is to enhance the visibility and the accessibility of the place so that more people, whether it's local or the tourists, will get to know more about this place, the history and the rich heritage. Of course, this is a commercial development, so we have to make sure that the place is commercially viable. But at the same time, it's also a conservation site, so we have to respect the conservation guidelines.
Your hypothesis is that, well, people can't see what's going on inside, and therefore let's open it up by lowering the walls, putting in the grills so that people can see in. I think it's the wrong hypothesis that has led to an unnecessary action.
Lowering the cloister grounds could probably make the place look more inviting to the outside. But are we not eroding the character of a 19th century building once again?
大概是1980、81年的时候，我们校友会甚至于写信去要求说不要换，要保持它原来的风貌。但是现在想起来，如果那时候我们真的成功的话，可能今天就没有 CHIJMES， 因为一个历史的标志要能够有实际上的用途，才能够保持下来。
I mean, we can't help all these changes that comes along with commercialization. We just can't help because they have to make something out of it. They have to make it viable. So we have to be very practical. We can't be too sentimental about history and be so firm about certain things. We have to move on. The spirit of IJ is really out of the building. The building is just a shell, to me, which they try to preserve from the outside. And that's all matters.
Something tells us deep inside, IJ friends are friends forever.